The Daily Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph today, had a very interesting article about the rise of gangs of Albanians managing cannabis factories or cannabis houses. They rent a house and then turn it into a cannabis farm. Cannabis farm industry in the UK, particularly now dominated by these gangs, these criminal gangs from Albania, highlights the intersection of illegal migration, organised crime and the domestic drug market. While Albanians have drawn significant attention for their involvement, it's not exclusive to them, despite what the Daily Telegraph, what the Sunday Telegraph has to say. Historically, Vietnamese gangs played a central role in cannabis production within the UK, though they've since been displaced by Albanians, largely due to the more professional, determined approach. Albanians involved in cannabis farming have often come from the economically disadvantaged northern regions of Albania, such as Kukës, and these in the mountains. And these areas have high emigration rates due to limited economic opportunities at home, and many young men from these regions have been lured into criminal enterprises abroad, particularly in Western Europe. The involvement of northern Albanians in such activities is frequently explained by regional histories of clan loyalty and traditional codes of honour known as kanun, which may influence their organised criminal behaviour. But it would be wrong to say that these people, as the Sunday Telegraph does say, are mostly coming to the UK on small boats. It's not true. The people that I have met, and I've met a number, both inside and outside prison, have generally got documentation. And that is automatically a clear sign that they didn't come here on small boats when documentation is thrown over the side. At least that's what we're told. Many of these immigrants initially sought work in countries like Greece or Italy, but turned to the UK in larger numbers, especially after Brexit and its impacts on border controls. The spike in crossings across the Channel in 2022, where 12,000 Albanians arrived, created a supply of illegal migrants, some of whom were recruited to work in cannabis farms. And it's important to scrutinise claims that Albanians dominate the cannabis industry, as this may be an oversimplification that overlooks the structural causes of these criminal networks. What sets the Albanian gangs apart is their professionalism and the industrial scale of the operations. Hydroponic technology is essential for cultivating cannabis on such a large scale in the UK's often cold and damp climate, and Albanians have leveraged this technology with remarkable efficiency, rapidly cycling through crops every 12 weeks. This, coupled with their reliance on encrypted platforms like Telegram, points to a level of organisation rarely seen in previous waves of cannabis production in the UK. Interestingly, the economic acumen of these groups becomes evident in their online discussions. Telegram channels like Kusho focus not only on cultivation techniques, but also on market dynamics such as property costs, profitability, how to mitigate risks, including the use of crossbows as a less legally burdensome means of protection. This level of sophistication reflects a deep understanding of how to maximize profits while minimizing risks, especially compared to the earlier Vietnamese operations that they displaced. While the media focus has been primarily on Albanians, they're not the sole actors in this trade. It's vital to question narratives that exclusively attribute the UK's cannabis farm issue to Albanian gangs and Albanian men. Eastern European groups, as well as British nationals, have been implicated in these operations, often playing roles as landlords, intermediaries, investors. Additionally, some Albanians working on these farms have exploited labourers rather than masterminds, suggesting the presence of broader trafficking networks that might involve other nationalities. Media coverage, while informative, therefore lacks nuance, and the article in the Sunday Telegraph today is cheap and insubstantial. The people who wrote that article haven't done their work. It's relied on sensational accounts of Albanian dominance, and such narratives feed on xenophobia and overlook the systemic causes of why, for example, some Albanian nationals are involved in the first place. Be it a lack of economic opportunities back home, the attraction of quick profits in a lucrative but risky enterprise, or simply being trafficked. Similarly, focusing on individual gardeners and workers distracts from the complexity of landlords, real estate agents, and even local communities that benefit from these from this development, from the money that these operations generate. Given these complexities, law enforcement should focus not just on low-level workers, but also on the financial networks and the enablers behind these farms. Furthermore, a more international and social economic approach is required to tackle the issue at root source, including addressing the conditions that have pushed young Albanians into criminal activities abroad. More than that, there's also the question of the debate about whether or not cannabis should be legalized in the first place. If it is, this market disappears overnight. So while Albanians have carved out a significant share of the UK's cannabis market, oh, and don't forget, it was Henry VIII who made it who made it a law that every farm over, I can't remember how many acres, had a duty to have half an acre growing hemp to supply the ropes used in shipping. We have always been, therefore, since the Tudor period, a cannabis-growing nation. And these simplistic articles written by people who haven't done their research is disappointing. The cannabis industry remains a multifaceted issue, involving a range of actors, technologies, and different social factors, all of which demand a more comprehensive and considered approach than the sort of sensational, finger-pointing, xenophobic rubbish which is put out today in the Sunday Telegraph.